The Netherlands, the country of tulips, windmills, cheese, and specialized coffee shops. But is it any good to start a business there? Let's talk about it now. Hi, I'm Oliver, and welcome back to the channel AskMeStartup, where we talk about startups, small businesses, and the world that surrounds them. If you're new here, please consider subscribing and pushing the notification bell so YouTube lets you know whenever I'm uploading new content. If you're into startups, if you started a business or are you thinking about to start a business, please feel free to download our free startup checklist, link in the description below. So today's topic, the Netherlands. Is it a good place to start a business? What have you heard about the Netherlands? This northwestern European country with its capital The Hague and the largest city Amsterdam, which most likely you've heard in a touristic sense, but are you aware of any companies or anything that is deriving from the Netherlands besides their coffee shops? I'm sure all of you have heard of Royal Dutch Shell, one of the largest companies in the world and the largest oil and gasoline provider. But you might also have heard of Philips. Many of you, maybe with, say, updated lighting, have used Philips Hue and have used Philips TVs or Philips other equipment, one of the largest companies in the world as well. Or I'm pretty sure many of you have heard of Heineken, one of the largest beer manufacturers in the world. And then there is Unilever, a company you might have not heard of, but it is one of the largest of its kinds in the world for anything related to groceries, which is now shifting towards more personal healthcare products. But then you have to ask yourself, okay, these are big companies. What else should I care about, right? I want to know about startups, and you're right. But are there any reasonable startups that derive or have their headquarters in the Netherlands? Yes, there are. One of which would be WeTransfer, one of the largest and most used transfer websites in the world currently. And then there are, of course, more specialized startups, one of which being the ocean cleanup startup, which is intending to clean up the oceans from the plastic that is floating within it. I think that's a very important, very sustainable approach to doing business, which goes on with the next startup I want to mention is the Fairphone, which is also another sustainable startup located in the Netherlands trying to establish a fairly produced and manufactured mobile phone. Now that we've seen so that you can start businesses, that you can do multi-million-dollar rounds actually like WeTransfer in the Netherlands, we should have a closer look at the country itself. So the country itself has roughly 17 million inhabitants with a GDP of approximately $61,000 US. The Netherlands have a very special geographic location in the northwestern part of Europe. They are facing the ocean, but their mainland or many parts of the land are actually below sea level, which has forced them to develop different strategies for housing, for infrastructure, etc. over many years. Hence, there is a lot of very reputable know-how in this country, specifically for these type of issues. But we have to understand, is it any good to start a business there today? And on an entrepreneur level, we have to acknowledge that the Netherlands have one of the best educated population in the world. And they are pretty progressive. Hence, they accept new things and they attract new things. They want to try out many different things. Furthermore, the tax regime is very favorable. And maybe that's one of the reasons Netherlands is in, let's say, dispute with some other European countries because they're attracting a lot of business due to their tax laws. Then we should also acknowledge that the Netherlands, somewhat like France, is offering a startup visa specifically for non-EU residents for people trying to establish a company within the Netherlands. This visa, and I'm going to link it down here in the description, is specifically for those people who are establishing a company and they were giving 1 year residency to start and get the business off the ground. They cannot do this by themselves. They have to use a Dutch facilitator to do that. And after that 1 year, you are obliged to apply for a permanent resident. And that is, of course, depending on your business success, etc., etc. It's also important to notice that the Netherlands have a very high educational network that is interconnected with Germany, France, Belgium, all the neighboring countries. Then there's another topic that is important and that is currently pushing business in the Netherlands very intensively is Brexit. Due to the fact that the United Kingdom left the European Union, many British companies are now putting their European dependence into the Netherlands. That's due to the proximity of those two countries, making it easy for them to do the business and to organize everything. And of course, we have to acknowledge that Dutch speak pretty good English there. If we talk about the Netherlands, we should also talk about their social standing. And I think this Dutch society is one of the most open and, let's say, progressive societies in Europe. That means that they are for equal rights for everybody, of course, for women, for men, for no matter what race or religion you have. But also if you're a member of the LGBTQ, for instance, you will have not such big issues as you might have had in other countries. That is maybe one of the reasons why the social responsible businesses are very favorable in the Dutch communities and have chosen this country as their starting hub. Furthermore, we have to acknowledge that the Dutch government and the Dutch bureaucracy are not as bad as they are in many other countries like Germany, for instance, or even France. And they're ranking pretty high on the non-corruption index, which means that if you do business, you will do it properly there. So I hope this was helpful for you to understand and think about starting a business in the Netherlands. Have you ever thought about doing so? Just drop a comment down below, and I'm gonna see you next time.